Good morning.
Good morning.
All right.
Glad you're here.
So am I.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who sent well wishes and prayers. They were much needed and much appreciated. So
How you doing?
I'm standing. So
What's that?
That's-
I'm still standing.
yeah, that's
Another day of vertical opportunities.
right. Yes. So
That's pretty good.
yeah.
That's a good one.
You know, when it pops up upstairs, you gotta let it out. You know?
That's right. So it's not real steady right now. So if I fall over, just prop me up in the corner somewhere and I'll keep going.
Yeah. That's
All right, so we are still in Genesis. We will be in Genesis probably as long as the people upstairs are in Acts. But
Got a while.
got a while. So we are in Genesis. We finished up chapters 4 and 5 2 weeks ago. Anybody remember what 4 and 5 were about?
Jesus, no. In a roundabout way.
They're really about why, yeah, Jesus.
The prelude, yeah. Genealogy from basically the first man to Noah, and
we're ready for the flood.
oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, we had Cain and Abel and a guy named Lamech. So we had the first murder go on, and then a guy named Lamech who decided that, hey, I can kill anybody I want to just because they injured me. So he was making up his own laws. And then we had the genealogies from Adam to Noah. So we are starting then in chapter 6 today. And we're going to have lots of interesting questions, I'm sure. So I'm not planning to get very far into the text.
okay.
All right, chapter 6, verse 1. Let me get a drink and we'll get started.
No. Yeah. I get questions about the Napoli already.
At least wait till we get there.
Sons of God.
All right. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. And then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. I'm going to stop right there. So, sons of God, what are they? It says human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them. So we have daughters of men. And then it talks about the sons of God, daughters of humans were beautiful and married any of them they chose. So there is speculation out there that the sons of God are fallen angels. And the reason some people say this is because in Job 1:6, 2:1, and 38:7, sons of God refers to angels. And they assume it's fallen angels, not good angels, that are doing this. Well, there's problems with that interpretation. Number one, we don't know who wrote Job. It was probably not Moses. Job predated Moses, actually. It's a poem that would have been handed down through the ages. So we cannot use one writer's definition for another. So you can't use the author of Job's definition of sons of God for Moses' sons of God. Okay. Number two, it is only used this one time by Moses. He doesn't keep calling people sons of God. So that also narrows down what we can say it is or isn't. Therefore, we have to go by the context of the passage. And the context of the passage is the godly line of Seth set against the depraved humans. All right. So, what are the sons of God? They are the godly line of Seth. The daughters of men are the daughters of the line of Cain. All right. Now, what's going on here then is, remember, Cain was sent off east. away from everybody. He and his family would have started way over here. And then you still have the line of Seth that's over here, building up their family. So eventually, Cain's family and Seth's family merge. They start having
Maybe.
contact. Thank you.
Relations.
Yeah.
Got busy.
They start having contact with each other. And so these guys, the men of Seth, say, hey, our women are ugly. Let's go over to their women. We were beautiful. And they start getting in with the line of Cain. Not line of Cain. That's a totally different thing. With the line of Cain. Okay. So they start having relationships with them. And notice that they are, we'll skip that for right now. So what's going on here is spousal persuasion. And we see this in Numbers 25, 1-3, where the Israelites, and remember, they're the ones who are receiving this first. The Israelites get in with the Moabites, and they start marrying the Moabites. Well, the Moabites are pagans. They don't believe in God, and they start pulling people away from believing in God. And that's what's happening here. These women are getting these men to stop believing in God. They're pulling them away from the line of Seth, moving them toward the line of Cain, who doesn't believe in God. Or they believe in God, they just have no use for God. So that's what's going on. We know these guys are just don't care about God anymore because they're marrying any woman they choose. That means multiple women, not just one woman. So once again, like we saw with Lamech, who had 2 wives, which means 2 mother-in-laws. I don't know why you want to do that. But he had 2 wives. He didn't care about God, so he made up his own rules. And these guys, because they are taking on any women they want to, they don't care about God's rules either. All right, so that's what's going on here. Verse 3, the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days will be 120 years. So God will stop fighting against the fallen nature of humans. At some point, he's going to say, that's it. And this is the point. He says, that's it. You have 120 years, and then you're done. Now, that does not mean, some people say, well, people lived more than 120 years after that, so God was lying. No, it means from the time God said this until the time of the flood, 120 years.
Phil?
Yeah.
Doesn't God also give up on some individuals? I think I've read that
What do you mean by give up?
they're just, he can't save them. It just,
Like Saul?
Yeah.
King Saul.
nowadays even individuals are, he says, I've worked with them enough, I'm through with them.
I don't think God ever really gives up on anybody. We're going to see here, he didn't really give up on humanity. But I think there are people that are so against God that the Holy Spirit just cannot work in them.
Yeah.
They won't allow it. And that's on their side, not God's side. So God is going to give them 120 years to think about things. It's like, go to your room and think about this. Okay, here we go. Verse 4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. All right. Who were the Nephilim? Well, the word Nephilim is just Hebrew for giants. So there are a few ways we could look at this. One, they were very large humans, kind of like Goliath, the 8-foot, or Shaquille O'Neal, big dudes. Large humans, which if your average size is 5 foot something, and Shaquille O'Neal would just be W. so large humans, or they were tyrants. In other words, they were governmental kings who ruled over people with an iron fist, but they did so in a way that they expanded their kingdoms, etc. So they were seen as heroes. Or they were giants in some industry. They were skilled at a certain task. When we read the genealogies before, we heard about one person who was good at doing music. One was good at forging iron or whatever, making things of iron. Yeah, tubal cain. So they could be someone who was skilled at some task. My belief is that they were tyrants. Okay. Well, they could have been aliens, but alien tyrants. Yeah. You know, E.T. had a really dark side to him. All this Elliot stuff, just, it was just a con. So the word is only used here in Numbers 13:33 to refer to people in Canaan. So in Numbers 13, when the guys come back, the scouts come back, they say there's Nephilim in there, there's big dudes in there, and then it probably is giants.
When they say they were the heroes of old, men of renown, so that kind of points towards just people who were giant in their presence.
Yeah. More of being a king's, a ruler stature than just being a giant. Okay. But it can also mean being big people. They had large personalities. They were heroes. Now, the problem with this is if they were tyrants, the people are so corrupt now that their heroes are tyrants. Think about that. They're placing these tyrannical people, not Tyrannosaurus rexes, tyrannical people into positions of heroes. These cruel people. That's how bad people had become depraved. And speaking of depravity, let's go to verse 5. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Think about that. Every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. We think it's bad now. It was much worse then. At least now we have people who are thinking good thoughts, trying to do what is right, whether they're Christians or not. There are people who are trying to do good things. Here, nobody was trying to do a good thing. Everything was evil. It's all about me and what I can do. And if you're in my way, I'm just going to take you out. Every thought was evil continuously. Think about what kind of an earth, a world, that creates around you. I mean, we have locks on our doors now. These people probably had 18 locks and steel doors and trying to keep people out. They wouldn't have because they didn't have that back then, but it was just, you couldn't cross the street without somebody running over you with their donkey. Everything was evil. Verse 6. Now the Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. Okay, people have a large problem with this verse. God regretted something? Does anybody have another translation says something else?
The Lord was grieved.
Grieved. Yes. And you think, well, didn't God know this was coming? Yes. But God also understood that this was going to have to happen in order to get his full plan enacted. But it grieves God that this has to happen, that humans actually went into this position in the first place, that they became so horribly evil. Now, there's two views of sin we're seeing here. Human view at this point, embraced sin as a lifestyle. Everything that they did was sinful. Everything they did was evil. Everything they thought was evil. It was their lifestyle. It was the way they lived. They were used to it. And if anybody tried to be good, we're going to see Noah here, they were weird. They would have been rejected. But God saw evil for what it was. It's a cancer killing his children. These people were killing each other, literally and spiritually. They were killing each other. And God saw it as a cancer killing his children. And that is what sin still is. Even though a lot of society today embraces it, embraces sin, it is still a cancer killing us. Just watch the news if you want to see how it's killing us. But not just physically, it is killing us spiritually, which is worse than killing us physically. It is pushing us further and further away from God. So God has a decision to make. Would it be more loving to destroy all humans now, or continue with the majority causing harm and only having a few, if any, return to God? In other words, does God want to just end it right now? Stop them from all this horrible stuff they're doing to each other. Stop this society that it's only evil around them. They're not knowing anything good, which is what God designed them to know. Or does he allow it to continue and then hope that people like Noah pop up? Maybe another one over here like Enoch pops up. You only have one or two. Is that enough? And God says, no. The flood is actually a mercy killing. Verse 7. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. Humans have become so evil that it would be more merciful to kill them off right now in one quick stroke rather than having them continue in this death spiral for years and years and years and years, killing each other off. A slow death. So God is going to do a mercy killing. It's more loving to do that than allow the people to suffer. Give me a second. There was something else I was going to say on that. No, maybe not. Okay. Well, let me just say one more thing about that. God is going to destroy all humanity, but he's going to reboot. All right. So we're not done yet. And here we go in verse 8. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So this is the account of Noah and his family, verse 9. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. So he was righteous. In other words, Noah loved God and he loved other people. That's what righteousness is, living the way God designed us to be. And so God seized Noah. And Noah, by the way, was from who? Remember who he was descended from?
Seth?
Yes. Descended from Seth. Enoch was in his line. Methuselah is in his line. I'm not sure how good Methuselah was, but Enoch was in his line. So he had some godly heritage there that he was dealing with, that he could fall back on. And he embraced. And he apparently gave that to his sons as well. So he was a righteous man. He was different than all these other people who were only thinking of evil, how to better somebody else. Now, verse 10. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So he has 3 sons. We talked about them last time. He is from the line of Seth, according to 5:28-32. And we know this is the same Noah because in 32 it says Noah was 5:32 it says Noah was 500 years old. He became the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So it's the same Noah that's in this line that we saw in chapter 5. Remember what I told you about the genealogies? Moses uses them to connect this person to the next person he's talking to. And that's what he's done. He's connected it to Noah now. So he had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. All right, so Noah lived during the time that was described in verses 1-7. He wasn't later than that. He wasn't earlier than that. He is during this time when everything is just corrupt. And yet, he had enough courage and stamina to live for God, to love God and love others. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. And so God is telling Noah, hey, everything's going to go away. I'm going to destroy everything. And I imagine that as Noah is building his ark, that was his message to the people. Hey, God is going to destroy everything. And he's destroying everything because we are corrupt, because we are sinful, because we are hurting each other, physically and spiritually. But if you will turn around to God, you can get on this ark too. Nowhere does God say no one else can get on here. I think God knows no one else is going to get on there. But God does not exclude anyone else from getting on there. So Noah was like this beacon of hope for humanity. Verse 14. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door on the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. All right, so that's what the ark is. It's huge. All right, 450 cubits is, what did my little footnote say? 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high.
Super yacht.
Super yacht. Almost the size of a small aircraft carrier.
Bigger than a football field.
Bigger than a football field, yes. It's what? 450 feet by 1.
Football field.
It's one football field and a half, yeah. So it's huge, it's long, and it's tall. It's 45 feet high. That's, by the way, so there should be 3 decks. Yeah, there's 3 decks. And he said to leave 18 inches there between the roof and the wall. Why? Ventilation. You get all those animals on there, you're going to want ventilation. So they have ventilation. So that's his project. Now, think about this. One guy and 3 sons are going to build this thing. So it is going to take a while. And I kind of, in my mind's eye, see these people around Noah going, what are you doing? A flood? Really? There's never been a flood here. We're in the middle of a desert, doofus. What are you thinking? And I could even see them going so far as to, as Noah and his sons sleep one night, they come in and destroy stuff. And that's why it took them 120 years to get it done. Either that or it was a federal project, and then it just took longer.
Crosby did a great skit about Noah years ago.
Oh, yes. I remember his,
What?
yeah. Yes, I remember Cosby's skit. So, build an ark. Now, Noah could have said, I don't feel like it. But he did it. God said to do it, and Noah went and did it. So, verse 17. God says, I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish. And Noah's going, good. I'm glad there's going to be a flood because I'm going to look really stupid building a boat with no flood. So God is going to destroy all land creatures. Verse 18, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. So 8 people. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you to be kept alive. You're to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and stored away as food for you and for them. Okay, so Noah has his marching orders. God is going to save Noah and his family, which includes his daughter-in-laws, daughters-in-law. I'll get there with the English one day. English is my second language and my first, unfortunately. They're to bring in animals. God's going to provide the animals for them. They're going to come in 2 by 2, all right? They're going to look like a NASCAR start race, it's 2 by 2. And then they're supposed to put in food. Obviously, that's going to have to be done before this time. So all the food that these animals can eat, all the food the humans can eat, and no, the humans cannot eat the animals. That's not allowed. And the animals cannot eat each other. Not allowed either. So they're going to have to bring in food for all this stuff. But he has plenty of room.
Does it say that the animals had to be adults?
Not necessarily adults, but more than likely probably were adults because they're going to have about a year in the ark. So if you want to repopulate the planet fairly quickly, you're going to have more adults than young ones. Although elephants, you might want to do the smaller version. I'm not sure they had 2 termites. They may have. That would have caused problems.
Find a jar.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can come in, but you're going to have to be on the outside of the ark.
He could have swatted those mosquitoes.
Yeah, you should have swatted the mosquitoes.
Wish he would have.
So it says animal of every kind of creature. So the word kind is highly debated. We could say that every kind of species. Okay, so you have one canine instead of all the different. I don't think the corgis would have made it, but 2 short of legs. One canine, one giraffe, one horse. Okay, instead of all the different types of these animals that we have now. So one kind. And it's 2 of every kind of bird, every kind of animal, every kind of creature. All right. In verse 22, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. That shows where Noah's heart was. He wasn't really wanting to escape the flood, but then again, he was. He was focused on God. God said to do this, I'm going to do it. Even if I look foolish, I'm going to do it. Okay, so as Noah is building this ark, he has about 120 years to work on this thing. Okay. God is going to destroy the earth because of the wickedness of humans. That is his message to the people.
Dramatic effect.
That was dramatic effect. I tell you what. This gives me chills. So, because of wickedness of humans, that's the message. Turn to God by accepting his love for you, and you can be saved from the flood. Noah was a person who loved God and loved people. I'm sure he said, hey, you're wicked, yes, but you can turn to God. I love you enough. I want to see you turn to God. And you know what? That should be our message today. Something is going to happen later on. God is going to have a day of judgment. And you're just not on the right side. I love you enough. I want you to be on the right side. I want you to understand about Jesus, who he is, how much he loves you, and what he's done for you and for me. All right, chapter 7, verse 1. The Lord then said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep their various kinds alive throughout the earth. All right, we're going to stop right there. So God is commanding 7s. He's commanding Noah to get in and his family to get into the ark, and he's commanding them to bring in 7s. Now, my translation has 7 pairs. Anybody have a different translation?
In a roundabout way, also 7 of every kind of bird.
Yeah, just 7. Not 7 pairs, just 7. 7 is the better translation there. Okay, so 7 of the clean animals, 2 of the unclean animals, 7 of the birds. Now, there's a reason for this. First of all, it is interesting that Moses is talking about, or God is talking to Noah about clean and unclean animals, because that doesn't become a part of Jewish tradition until Leviticus 11, where God describes which animals are clean and unclean. So at some point back there, maybe even with Cain and Abel, God described what animals were clean, what animals were not. And then somewhere along the way, that got lost in translation, and God had to redefine them then in Leviticus. But Noah understood what clean and unclean animals were. They were not about what animals you could eat. That's where Leviticus comes in, what you can eat and not eat. These are about animals for sacrifice. So if you have 7 clean animals, you've got 1 that is by itself, right? Guess what's going to happen to that 1? In the end, Noah is going to be doing sacrifices of clean animals. That 1 is going to be sacrificed. I actually, years ago, was preaching at a church and was doing a sermon on that from the viewpoint of that 7th animal being the sacrifice. Went through all the story of Noah and the rainbow and everything. Got done, we're standing there talking. A little kid runs in and goes, there's a rainbow outside. I thought, all right, God does have a sense of humor. Of course, we had a thunderstorm during the thing, which really, I mean, if you're talking about the flood, having a thunderstorm pouring down rain, it's great. Anyway.
So why wouldn't it just be 1 pair needed to remain and the other 6 would be sacrificed? Because there's 1 pair of all the other animals.
You mean 1 animal remain?
No, 1 pair. out of 7 pairs.
Well, because you're going to need 6 for the clean animals to reproduce faster than the other animals. And you want the clean animals to reproduce faster. Yeah. So the one odd animal out is going to be sacrificed. And then as the clean animals reproduce faster than the other ones who only have, the unclean animals only have 2 versus 6, rabbits excluded, you would have more clean animals than unclean animals because you would be sacrificing clean animals.
Crowded the ark more than I thought.
Yeah. Crowded a little more. And you have birds, 7 birds, because birds were also used for sacrifices. Okay. So all these animals that were used for sacrifices, you had 6 pairs of them, one odd bird out, so to speak. And the others you had 2. All right, just 1 pair. So the clean animals were used for sacrifices. Verse 4. God's still speaking here. 7 days from now, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. So we have the 7-day warning here, not the 2-minute warning. It is the 7-day warning. 7 days. God is giving people one more chance. We've been at this for 120 years, but one more chance. I'll give you 7 more days to come to me, to start living the way you should live. Love people, love God. If you do that, then you can come into the ark. 7 days. Apparently,
You think he's warning the whole world?
I think Noah went out and said, hey, dudes, we're down to 7 days. I don't think any of this was just specifically to Noah. It was to Noah to give to other people, to try to draw people to God. Verse 5, and Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth, and Noah and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the floodwaters came on the earth. So, Noah is 600 years old. He was around 500 when he had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay. He's now 600 years old. And it says he went in on the 17th day of the 2nd month, which is ER in the Hebrew calendar, was around April and May. So somewhere around the 1st of May, Noah goes into the ark along with his family. And I didn't read that part yet, so I got the explanation before I read it. Verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of the heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so they get in this time. The springs, so all these underground rivers, they give up their water. The water pushes up in there. The water table is close to the earth. It pushed it. So there is really no water left under the earth at this point. Everything is pushed up. And then you had rain also coming down. So the skies give up everything they have. All the water on the planet is now on the planet, on the ground. 40 days and 40 nights. This went on. And we usually think that that's where it ended. You know, Noah was in there for 40 days, 40 nights, no big deal. No, there's more. Verse 13. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, every bird according to its kind. Everything with wings. pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. All right, so you have 8 humans and all kinds of animals in this ark. All right. No, I didn't need any more water. I do. So all these animals and creatures are in there, and notice something. Who shut the door? God shut the door. Noah didn't do it. So Noah couldn't reopen the door. God shut the door. And once that door was shut, no one else was getting in.
You ever wonder if that was like a physical manifestation of Jesus been doing
I think of it more like a haunted house where the door just goes. Yeah.
it?
So God shut the door. No one could open it, either inside or outside. God had it shut. Their decisions had been made. Noah and his family made their decision to follow God. The people outside the ark had made their decision to not follow God. And then came the flood. Verse 17. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 15 cubits, which is about 23 feet. Every living thing that moved on land perished: birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had the breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. People and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. So 40 days and nights, you have all this water coming up, and it says that even the mountains were covered by 23 feet. Now, I know some that say this was a localized flood. That doesn't sound like a localized flood to me. All creatures were killed. Mountains were covered. So if the mountains are covered, then it's spilling out into other areas, right? Unless God miraculously just put this dome over it and went up. It was a full-on flood. Now, some people say that there is not enough water on the earth to do this, but scientists are finding more and more that yes, there is.
Are you the one that told us about ringwoodite?
Ringwoodite, yes.
Didn't you say that a few weeks
Yeah,
ago?
ringwoodite was discovered in 2014. It's between the crust and the crust and the mantle, and within that rock, which is actually water, it's a different form of water under high pressure. There is enough water there to at least fill one ocean, and most estimates say 5 to 6 oceans. So in other words, you take the amount of water we have now on the earth and multiply that by 6 times.
Lends credence.
Lends credence. Yes. Also makes you not want to build in New Orleans. So you have this massive flood, 40 days and 40 nights. All this water is pushing up out of the ground, out of the sky. And so you have this huge flood. Every land creature dies. And the waters are on there for 150 days. Verse 24, the waters flooded the earth for 150 days. So you have 40 days of it getting on there, and now for 150 days, it's staying around. So Noah wasn't in there for just 40 days and 40 nights. He's in there for a long haul. We're going to see how long here in a minute. Chapter 8. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth, and at the end of the 150 days, the water had gone down. And on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. All right. So verse 1 tells us that God remembered. Do you think God forgot about Noah? You know, he's off cooking breakfast. He goes, I know I something else I was supposed to be doing. Oh yeah, Noah. No. What this means is God now turns his attention from flooding the earth to Noah and those on the ark. His attention is turned back on there. That's what it means to remember. He turns his attention back to them. And so the water starts receding. The fountains of the deep stop pushing water up. They start taking water back in. The wind blows to help, get the water up into clouds. I don't know what he did with them after he got into clouds, but the water's receding. Maybe made the polar ice caps freeze a little faster. Don't know. But the waters are receding. So after 150 days, they have receded enough that Noah, the ark, runs aground. Okay? Somewhere in the mountain range of Ararat. There's a mountain called Ararat, but it is actually a mountain range. That's why they can't find the ark. There's a mountain range there. So somewhere on that range, he ran aground. And you can run aground on things before you ever see them. That's why sailors have to be very careful. That's why we build lighthouses, because there's places where you can run aground. So he has run aground. 90 more days after that, the tops of mountains are visible. So we're about 240 days into this. Okay. Verse 6. After 40 days, Noah opened up a window he had made in the ark. This may be separate from the one that he had going around the ark, because it was only 18 inches. Okay. He may have had a sunroof popped open.
Stop doing that. I got some long old legs.
And that is the sound it made when he opened up the.
There you go. Once again, you're back.
Yeah. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he had made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the water dried up from the earth. Okay, so he sent out a raven to start out with. Ravens are not picky. They just go out, and if they find anything they can land on, they'll land on it. They'll eat anything. They're scavengers. So they're not picky at all. So eventually he sends out the raven and it flies around. It didn't come back. Verse 8, then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. So doves are a little more picky. They don't like to get their feet wet. They are picky about what they eat. They're not scavengers. They eat plants and worms. I don't think there are any worms floating around in there. But they are picky. So if the water has receded enough for a dove to go to land, then you're talking, you've got some land that is visible. So he sent out the dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over all the surface of the earth. So it returned to Noah in the ark. So he reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf, hey, we're making progress. Somewhere there's an olive tree and it has leaved out. And the bird has gotten that and brought it back to Noah. And I'm pretty sure God had the bird do that, because I don't think the bird just thought, oh, you know what, I so Noah this. No, I think God had the bird do that. Then Noah knew that the water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. It was probably tired of being sent out. It said, forget you. I'll just find my own spot. But the waters had receded enough by then that the bird could find a place to nest and so on. So he was good to go. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. So remember, he went in the first day of the second month. So we're over a year into this thing. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it. So everybody get out of the ark so you can start reproducing, and that includes humans. So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives, all the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land, came out of the ark, one kind after another. So over a year they were in there, and now they're back on dry land. Then Noah built an altar in verse 20 to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. So he took one of each of these clean animals, these clean birds, and sacrificed to God. And the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. So, a pleasing aroma to God. The sacrifice was a pleasing aroma. And I don't think he means the same way that me walking by a barbecue place is a pleasing aroma. This is something different. Why was it a pleasing aroma that these sacrifices were being done? Because Noah was showing he was devoted to God. It shows that the reboot has a chance. Here's this one person, this family now, that is devoted to God. They are no longer corrupt, completely corrupt like the other people were. This sacrifice showed their devotion and their love to God. And so it was a pleasing aroma to smell that smoke, to smell that sacrifice because of what it meant. Verse 22, as long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. So God smells this aroma, knows that humans are now pointed towards God, and he says, I'm not going to destroy them this way anymore. And in fact, he doesn't. But in Revelation 21, we see a new heaven and a new earth come into play. And that is where God will change everything. Okay. All right. It is easier to see where God is leading when you know where God has been. Think about Noah. He knew where God had been. He knew what God had done for him for 120 years. And now he's looking forward to the future. Think about the people who are listening to this the first time. That is the people of Israel wandering in the wilderness. And they were constantly going against God. Now, if you hear this about the flood, how God wiped everybody out except for one, and you come up to a situation that we find later on in Exodus or Numbers, one of those places, where God is mad at everyone in Israel. He's going to wipe them all out. He tells Moses, I will start back up with you. Don't you think this flood thing came through their mind? God's done it before. He will do it again. He could do it to us. Wouldn't that make you want to kind of switch sides, go towards God instead of against God? Understand where God has been before and what God can do in the future?
Moses talking about it.
Moses talked him out of it and
Isn't
later regretted that conversation.
isn't it interesting too that Adam and Eve disobeyed God, Noah obeyed God?
Yeah. There is that switch there between Adam and Eve and Noah. Of course, you also have the Cain and Abel thing going on too. All right. Thank you all very much. See you next week.